Helen Keller was born in the year 1880 in a quiet little town called Tuscumbia in the state of Alabama. She came into the world as a healthy baby filled with joy and curiosity. Her parents, Arthur Keller and Kate Adams Keller, were proud of their little girl and showered her with love. She was the center of the household, and she brought light and happiness wherever she went for the first months of her life. She was like any other child. She played, she laughed, and she learned how to walk, but fate had a different path written for her. When Helen was just 19 months old, a sudden illness struck her. Doctors in that time did not fully understand the disease. Some said it was scarlet fever, while others thought it was meningitis. Whatever it was, it left a heavy mark on the little girl. The fever eventually went away, but the illness had stolen two of her most precious senses. Her sight and her hearing were gone. In just a few days, the bright world of colors, sounds, and voices turned into silence and darkness for her. Her family tried to comfort her, but as she grew older, the silence and the darkness built a wall around her. She could not hear the words of her mother. She could not see the loving face of her father. She could not explain when she was hungry or when she was in pain. She wanted to speak, but no one could understand her. She grew restless and angry. She often had fits of rage and tantrums because she could not express her feelings. Her family loved her deeply, but they felt helpless. Her mother, Kate, however, never lost hope. She believed that somewhere inside her daughter there was a mind and a soul waiting to be awakened. She read about special schools for blind and deaf children, and she came across the story of a brilliant teacher named Anne Sullivan. Through connections they managed to bring and into their lives and arrived at the Keller household in the year 1887. She was young, only in her 20s, but she carried within her a strong will and endless patience. She herself had faced the struggles of poor eyesight earlier in her life, so she understood hardship from the very first day and faced challenges. Helen was stubborn, wild, and often refused to cooperate. She would kick and scream and throw things, yet and never gave up. She knew that deep inside this troubled little girl was a bright flame waiting to be lit. She began to teach Helen through finger spelling. She would hold Helen's hand and spell letters in her palm. Helen felt the movements, but she did not understand their meaning. She thought it was a game. Then came the breakthrough moment. One spring day, and took Helen to the water pump in the garden. She pumped cool, fresh water onto Helen's hand while the water flowed, and spelled the word water in her palm. Over and over she traced the letters W-A-T-E. Suddenly something stirred inside Helen. She stopped. She stood still. She felt the cold liquid rushing across her skin, and at the same time, she connected the idea that the shapes in her hand meant the substance touching her fingers. It was like lightning striking her mind. The mystery of language opened before her. For the first time, she understood that every object had a name, and those names could be spelled in her hand. Excited and overwhelmed, Helen demanded to know the names of everything around her. She touched the earth, the flowers, the trees, and patiently spelled each word into her hand. That day a door was unlocked, and the world, which had been dark and silent now, began to fill with ideas and meaning. Helen never forgot that moment. She later wrote that it was as if her soul had been set free. After this discovery, Helen became a tireless learner. She wanted to know everything. She learned hundreds of new words. She learned to read Braille, the raised dots that can be felt by touch. She learned to write with a special typewriter. She was determined to go to school and live a life beyond silence and darkness. With and by her side, she grew in knowledge and confidence. In time, Helen went on to achieve what many thought was impossible. She attended a school for the blind, and later she was accepted into Radcliffe College, which was connected to Harvard University, and Sullivan stayed by her side every single day. She spelled books, lectures, and entire lessons into Helen's hand, word by word. Imagine the patience it took. Imagine the strength and the bond between teacher and student. Through this dedication, Helen graduated with honors in 1904, becoming the first deaf and blind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. But Helen did not stop at education. She wanted to use her life to help others. She began to write books and articles, sharing her experiences. She told the world that blindness and deafness were not the end of life, but only challenges that could be overcome. She traveled to many countries, giving speeches through interpreters. She met presidents, kings, and world leaders. She inspired millions of people by proving that courage and determination can break any barrier. Her friendship with Anne Sullivan remained the center of her strength and guided her for nearly 50 years until her own health began to fail. Their relationship was not just of teacher and student, but of soul companions, and passed away in 1936, and Helen was heartbroken, yet she carried on her mission even after losing her dearest friend. Helen Keller became a symbol of hope. She fought for the rights of the disabled. She also supported causes of equality and justice. She spoke about women's rights, about workers' rights, and about peace. She showed that a woman who could not see or hear could still make the world listen through the power of her spirit. In her later years, Helen received many awards and honors. She was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom, one of the highest awards in the United States. She was admired all over the world. Finally, in 1968, at the age of 87, Helen Keller passed away. She left behind a legacy that still shines. Her story continues to inspire children, adults, teachers, and leaders across the globe. Her life teaches us that no darkness is permanent and no silence is final. With patience, love, and courage, even the deepest barriers can be broken. What began as a tragedy for a little girl in Alabama became a story of triumph that still touches hearts to this day.